We welcome in Gavin Gulash, a former RMU men's hockey player, hopefully current as soon as next season. How you doing, my man? Holding up?
I'm all right. I've been better, but, hanging in there.
Yeah. Last season, 22 games, 5 points if I remember correctly. Good complimentary forward, but let's get straight to the point. You're still here, and it's because you didn't expect this to happen, because on May 26th, an announcement was made, and you're here, and things have been very depressing. Tell me about that day itself. What exactly happened? Was there an email, and then there was the Zoom meeting, and then there was the tweet? What was the exact series of events that happened?
So I was actually on vacation with my family that day in Florida. I was actually golfing with my buddy, and we got an automated text from an RMU number saying that we had a Zoom meeting to go to, and you don't really know if you have to go to that, if it was just a spam thing. So I checked it out with some of the older boys, and they said that it was legit and that we had to show up to it. So didn't really think too much of it. Finished my round of golf, and then sitting there eating some food and joined the Zoom call, and you see some of the interviewers earlier, all the girls teams on there, all their coaches, my whole team, all our coaches, athletic trainers, and then you see the higher ups of the school, and you don't really know what's going to happen. So at first, when they kind of said that hockey wasn't going to be a thing anymore, I thought they were joking, just because it's probably the last thing any of us expected to happen. But yeah, it was a weird feeling. It was kind of an empty feeling, just knowing that everything you experienced, and at least for me in my freshman year, and just the great times that we all had, that it was kind of just taken away, and that you're not really going to have that kind of stuff anymore.
So yeah, it was reported that the tweet that came out, that announced it to the public, was actually made just 10 minutes after that Zoom call ended. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm also curious, you mentioned you were on vacation playing around in golf. Were there any players that weren't on that call and got the news later on in the day? And how did they react to that, if so?
I think there was a couple guys who might have missed it just because, either not by their phone or hadn't seen it. But yeah, I think just the reaction was the same. Just, you think guys are busting your chops, thinking they're kidding, but in reality, the situation, it was real, and unfortunately for us, it was real. So, it was definitely a hard pill to swallow that day.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'm trying to do here to start is just kind of just paint the picture of how chaotic things have been. We still have a pandemic going on. Not everyone that was on RMU hockey was even from this country. People were moving back home. There's scholarships at stake and things like that. How chaotic has it been? Just from a mental health standpoint, just this entire offseason. Hockey's a great sport in the fact that we get the summer, the nicest weather in the offseason, but with this happening, it's been a whole different story, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was crazy. You think, when I left here on, I think the 2nd of May, I didn't really expect could have been the last time I'm ever stepping foot on that campus. Some of the guys, you don't think it's the last time you're going to see them for God knows how long. But yeah, it's been a weird summer, to say the least, for not only just me, but my whole entire family, just because, I wouldn't be here without them, and they're just as much invested in this as I am. So just to see what kind of impact that had on not only myself, but the people that care about me and that have supported me, it was really tough this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know much about psychology. I only passed with a C here at RMU, but I do find the stages of grief very interesting. The first one's denial, which you talked about earlier. You thought it was a joke. And the second one's anger. How hard was it to, I'm assuming it wasn't even hard. It was very easy to get angry at the university after this decision. And, if there is a potential reinstatement, how much of a grudge are you potentially going to hold if you come back to this team?
Everyone wants to point the finger at someone. It's he said, she said, all that kind of stuff. It was definitely tough to kind of go through that, but we just want to play hockey. That's all we really want to do. And I committed to come play hockey for this school. So as long as I get to do that, I think that's a win.
Now, there's no question you are a Division I talent. You're an NCAA hockey player, at least in limbo right now. But a lot of players, yourself included, have not been able to find a home for this season. And we were talking, before off air about how, a group of guys have kind of banded together to try and, continue to stay in shape and stay playing. How hard has that been, and how hard does that continue to be to, be in this uncertain 1-year break. It's like a lockout in the NHL, but on a far smaller scale where you don't have these other leagues to play in. And that decision came out when rosters were pretty much already filled up.
Yeah, there's never really a good time for anything like this to happen in any year, but for it to happen in the end of May in the pandemic year that we kind of went through, and having over 300 guys trying to transfer, at least in my case, from different schools, it obviously makes things tougher, especially when there's an entire team on the block now. So yeah, it's hard because at that point there's a amount of spots and even less money. So yeah, it didn't really leave a whole lot of options left for a lot of guys. But yeah, like you said earlier, there's a good group of guys that stuck around. That obviously our end goal is we want to play for the school and this university, and so I think it is hard just to. Sometimes it's hard to stay motivated when you see some of the guys that you played with last year, you played against, and you're seeing them on social media going out, practice, playing games, media day, that kind of stuff. It's kind of hard to watch that, but I think if we continue with the support, I think we'll be able to do the same thing next year. How
closely does the team communicate with that, or I guess sadly the former team communicate with that and saying like, oh hey, I'm thinking about going to Canisius, or I got an offer here, what do you guys think? Obviously it comes down to the player themselves and their family's decision, but this is a different scenario. This is a unique scenario in terms of transfers. This isn't I'm mad at this university so I'm transferring. This is my university does no longer have a program, I have to move on. What has the conversation been like? Like, is there a group chat with all the guys like, what do I do? Like, because everyone's lost right now.
Yeah, it wasn't really talked about all too much, just between like the entire team, just because there's obviously there's guys who aren't gonna end up finding anywhere, and you don't want to like kind of make someone feel bad about it. But no, I think it was the one thing that was unique about that team is we were really close. There wasn't any really bad eggs in the entire group. I think everyone got along really well, and those are all guys I'd want at my wedding one day. That's how in my 1 year here, that's how close I think a lot of us were. And I think the cool thing about it was whenever someone landed somewhere, they'd always let the boys know before it got out to social media or whatnot. So I think that was like a big thing for a lot of us, that it was always the boys that had each other's back. So
now the donation goal, which is $1.4 million, links will be in the description for anyone that's listening. December deadline, mid-December deadline. One of the areas that is discussed is arena upgrades in the Island Sports Center. You only had 1 year to play there, but just from a hockey player's perspective, what do you think of the arena itself? What needs to improve in terms of arena upgrades potentially?
I don't see too much. Our facilities in the back were top notch. We had basically anything we wanted back there. We were treated like pros, which obviously that's something you don't get at a lot of places, but it was nice. We didn't really get to have too many fans in the building besides our last playoff series, but I think it would have been a completely different season, obviously, with people in the stands, which we're looking forward to next year. But
one last question for you. We saw it with Michaela Boyle's interview here, but you guys have been successful programs, just in general, both hockey teams. How much does this decision mean to you guys in terms of how much they value your guys' success?
At the end of the day, it's a university. They got to run it like a business. I'm not gonna, point fingers and make excuses as to why this should happen instead of us. You never really think it's going to be you.